Thank you, Sagarika. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, rather. And thank you for this invitation. And congratulations, Sagarika, on the excellent initiative. So it is very interesting to see the gathering and the discussions going on. And actually, it's a topic very much close to my heart as well, about women and women empowerment, injustice to women, and all that. So I'm really happy to be here. Even though I'm not an expert on internet governance, I thought I would share my views with you all. So the first half of the panel discussions, I don't think I had to go into that again. The majority of us agreed that there is a gender issue and that we need to address that. Right? So the presence of if there's a gender issue and if that is an important factor, obviously it has to be considered when it comes to governance of the internet. So I can that's how I would like to start it. So women are facing some issues, and then in order to address all those issues, women have to contribute, participate in internet governance. So it's not just mere participation by sitting in an audience. They'll have to work with the forums and they have to give their own contributions in order for us to shape up the internet practices and policies. So I'll refer to my notes. So what we observe, like if you look at all the societies in the world, online or offline, what we really see is it's mostly dominated by males. Most of the CEO positions, hierarchical positions are taken up by males. I don't know whether it is male superiority or the biasness or there is some issues or some fear that women coming into governance. So from the reports from the Dynamic Coalition on Gender and Internet Governance, DCDIG, gender is often absent in sessions around core internet values, network neutrality, Internet of Things, and so on. So all this causes some concern. Why do you think it's like that? Is it because people believe that women can't take strong decisions? Is it because people believe that women are too delicate and they can't handle situations? Or is it some other cultural bias, like in our parts of the world, where men alone can handle such heavy responsibilities? And when you look into the research, we find that women to be critically absent in all, especially at internet governance. So obviously, after listening to all these discussions in the previous sessions, it's obvious that it needs to be changed. In the early days, the role of standards and regulations for development of internet was primarily paid by academic community. So I don't know whether there were female academics involved in shaping up the rules and regulations. It's true that women have not taken an active part in the beginning of ICT development, but there have been rapid changes and going online is a must now. It is absolutely necessary for women to be considered for positions in internet governance. They need to participate in discussions. They need to contribute to ensure that shaping the future of the internet and also to ensure women's rights and issues to our concern. And we see that more and more places, board positions are being occupied by women now. But the trend is not to be seen in internet governance. Is it again gender bias? I don't know whether it is male superiority or lack of confidence, or is it because of security issues, security concerns? Very often, like at meetings, we observe questions raised around gender dimension of internet governance and even otherwise. But unfortunately, most of the time I have observed, I'm sure you have observed, the questions are either ignored or they're sidelined. So an opportunity to explore the issues is obviously missed. In most of the forums, associations, societies, gender issues are rarely addressed. And when it happens, they are projected by males most of the time. I'm sure you agree with me. And the audience politely listen to it and they are not considered seriously. So only a woman will know the real problems, issues affecting her kind. She needs to be given a voice to project the issues and find solutions. Women's perspectives can bring innovative solutions, obviously, and draw on many years of experience in gender and development field. So, and women look at things in different angles. Men are more focused, but women will look at the holistic view, and she will bring different ideas, different solutions onto the table. So, without those major contributions, um, those contributions are really essential in shaping the internet. And again, I can tell you little some examples from, like, I'm a mother of two and I'm a wife. So the things that I have gone through now, say, as a mother, my kids always come to me asking about their homework, school issues, friends issues, boyfriends, etc., etc. Right? They don't go to their father. So, as a woman, I need to be aware of all the rights, things, information in order to educate my child, in order to provide information and guide my child, right? So, obviously, and then, so that was then, like, my two children are married now. So, but now things have changed. Kids may not come to they might still come to their parents, the mother, but they will also look at the internet for information, right? So women, or especially mothers, have more exposure, or are they more informed and more aware of the issues that the kids and the youngsters face, right? So if they can, their contribution can go a long way in addressing those issues that the youngsters face. So obviously, what I'm trying to say is women's participations, women's contribution in internet governance is very essential. Um, so, and then again, the type of, say, again, research reveals there are issues on the internet for both men and women. I'm not going to say that abuse is not there for men, but the type of abuse that women face is much more different than from the type of abuse that men face. And then, for example, let's say there's name calling, embarrassment, harassing on the internet, right? Men would bounce back very quickly. They don't even care about those things, right? But for women, it's very embarrassing. And then it will really impact their and personal and emotional impacts it will have on them. So little things like, say, can give another example, say, relationships and blackmailing individuals to stay in a relationship. Say you have your boyfriend and then you all go out, take photographs, and then you break your relationship. And the next day your photographs are on the internet, right? So with situations like that, the society, especially the society that we live here in Asia, they look at the women in a very much different way. It does not affect the men to the same extent as it is a woman. Um, and then again, I'll take another example. If you take the mobiles or internet, men will use it for their own, well, use, their satisfaction, to get information about what they want. But women will use the technology for herself, as for the family, and also for the community. So getting the technology in the hands of women tend to become much more associated with economic development for the entire community than simply for the benefit of a particular user. So I've been giving you all these examples to show that how important it is for women to come on board on internet governance, because their contributions can go a long way and they have to be properly represented. So I think that's all I have to say because most of the things have been discussed in the previous sessions. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer.
I would like to toss the questions to on the what Professor Kapurubandara says, like, does the gender matter in role, internet governance? So I would like to ask that question from the secretary from the ministry as a policymaker. Does the gender matter in internet governance?
If you take the, thank you for giving me the opportunity to respond, Sagarika. Having worked in this area for about, since the internet began, the people who have involved in decision making in the shared sphere, also setting up standards and all that, I would definitely agree that there is less women in this affairs. If you take the local language working group that introduced Sinhala Unicode, Tamil Unicode, and work towards that. The history, I know only one lady who was involved in out of 20-25 gens. So in the area of standardization, we set up and invited public participation for experts and whoever capable in setting up the web standards for government. That committee was done in somewhere 2007-8, and there was only one lady out of all, about more than 10 people. So the standard setting, decision making, even I know that nobody has been so far. Please correct. Sometimes somebody in the audience could correct me. For NIC.lk director board, there has not been a single lady so far. Am I right? You are involved in such activities for a while. So the organization NIC.lk, what you call the LK registry, which is responsible for names and numbers in Sri Lanka. I mean, internet names and numbers. What is the local body for ICANN? ICANN is International Corporation for Names and Numbers, right? So that is the local bodies, NIC.lk, we call it LK registry. And it is located in basically Moratuwa University. For the entire history, not a single lady being involved in the board. Only one. But it is, so the in Sri Lanka, this matter has been mostly dominated by males, basically. However, I see that trend is a little bit, now we have realized the situation and pendulum is going other way a bit, because I also something again, what I have noted is many ladies are joining the government service executive grades. And there is a huge component of the huge number, the big percentage is being represented by IT graduates in the even to the government, government IT service. So there is again, that is a little bit going up, and we see ladies in the in committees and so on, and it is encouraging. But I cannot at all be happy with the current situation still.
So I would like to toss a question to Professor Kapurubandara, being an academic, like training students in the IT field. So what do you feel? What are they capable of, female students who are being in the IT field? So are there any disparity between male and female students? Why are we losing female students when it's come to the IT field? Like with my experience in first 2 years, like majority of students will be females, like 50-50 will be females. But at the graduation time, there may be only 2 or 3 female students in the techie subjects. So what do you think? What would be the reasons behind that?
Well, I can't talk about other institutions, but I can tell you about SLIT. We have about 7,000 student population. And I'm happy to say the male to female percentage is more or less equal, 50%. And the retention is more with females. Actually, the boys tend to drop out, but the women, the girls continue and finish their degrees. But as you correctly said, when it comes to employment, after employment, because of the lack of facilities, especially after getting married and having a family, they tend to stay back and discontinue with their profession. So that's because in our part of the world, our culture expects a woman to be solely responsible to look after the family. Overseas, there are like, I think, the father is given leave to look after the babies, right? And then there are childcare centers, and then you have working from home facilities, and all those things are there. Actually, by not having those facilities, we are losing very valuable contributions from the educated female sector. Right? They are sitting at home. They are very well educated. They have a lot of exposure, experience, but the governments are not using that. I don't think it's only in Sri Lanka, but all parts of the world. Even in Australia, I was told that it is a problem. But then maybe we all should get together and at least we can do our part, right? Now, in Slit, we are setting up a childcare center because there are about 25, 30 ladies who have had little babies and they want to come to work. So there was some management whether they could set up a childcare center. So we have given the space and they are going to do that. So little things like that will facilitate and would encourage them to stay in the industry. And the country will benefit by facilitating all that.
All right. Thank you. And any questions from the audience?
I'm new to town, so forgive my ignorance here. The government official, what's your agency's mandate? What kind of work do you do? What is the government of, what is this gentleman's, what is his agency's mandate? What does it do? What is its mission, objective?
Right. So I'm from the Ministry of Telecom and Digital Infrastructure. And Sameera is representing ICTA, which is under the ministry. And the functions of the ministry, which is being basically delegated by the Cabinet of Ministers, is it's a long list. But one is that improving the IT literacy among the Sri Lankans and make it more equal, equally distributed in regional as well as gender, religious, and all that. So that is one of the major. I think that is where we can come and join this and support this forum. And with regards to ICT, I think what is
Okay, of course, he has been my previous boss for last 7 years. He has been working as a director at ICTA. ICTA is the government apex arm, which is mandated by an act to make policy recommendations on ICT for development in the nation, and the implementation arm of all the ICT related initiatives, digital development initiatives in the nation. So in nutshell, that's our mandate. Yeah. Yeah. So in that case, we are. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. So what are the initiatives that your agency is doing to bring more women into the workforce and the ICT, close the gap, etc.?
Sure. So, ICTA, we have started implementation of our initiatives since 2005 with a World Bank project called Sri Lanka. That is one of the first ever models which have been adopted across the globe, called the integrated digital development model, which had 5 components: the industry development, ICT industry development, human resource capacity building, e-government initiative, re-engineering government initiative, and e-society, and infrastructure, digital infrastructure, underlying policy and legal framework, and the policies have been formulated during 2005 to 2014. So that was until 2014. Yes, that was the initial project which has been implemented with World Bank funds. Then after that, so there's another strategy is being implementing at the moment. So our secretary can add more things into it. So basically, our focus, the national vision has been already given from the government itself, digitizing the economy. Instead, it's a digital inclusive society, digital inclusive Sri Lanka. So how we're going to enable all the segments of the society and industry and government and all the other sectors through the intervention of digital technologies. So basically, we do have, at the moment, we do have 8 clusters program. So one cluster on, again, the infrastructure and connectivity. Then one cluster on digital education and capacity building. On top of it, you have to have, as you mentioned, it's not just about literacy, digital literacy. It's beyond that. How we're going to empower society through the use of digital technologies, and the digital government initiative, which is cut across all the government organizations. It's about re-engineering. And then there's another initiative called Smart Society. And we have some other vertical pillars and some of the projects like digital identity and cross-government document management. There are a lot of initiatives cut across different areas which enable the implementation of other initiatives like free Wi-Fi, the connectivity. So there are a lot of initiatives. In addition, the policy and legal framework, actually within the Asia Pacific region, we have one of the strongest ICT legal framework. So we do have Computer Crimes Act, E-Transaction Act, and Intellectual Property Act relevant provisions we do have. And recently we have RTI also. So those are the high level initiatives we have been implementing. Maybe
I think, Sagar, with your permission, because this is about men's access to internet and so on. Actually, I invited Paba Deshapriya because they have been doing a very serious research, which is groundbreaking, and about cyberbullying, which is restricting internet access to ladies, especially women, in a very critical manner. So what I wanted to do is basically they are representing a non-profit organization which is doing research on cyberbullying and all these, harassments. And that is an area that we have never touched so far. And they are pushing us to start doing research and they are going into some level of policy making to make it more accessible, internet, making of the internet more accessible place for women. So can I invite her to join us and give us some, explain us about the current situation and her experience to regards that. Please, Paba.
Please,
Okay, you can do.
Good evening, everyone. We had a interesting afternoon and a couple of interesting discussions. Let me get the presentation. So, as Mr. Secretary introduced violence, I'm going to talk a bit about violence and harassment and how it restricts access to the internet and also how it violates freedom of expression of women online. Firstly, as we discussed in the afternoon, this is just a manifestation of overall violence that takes place against women in all the other public spaces, in politics, in economy, in education. So it is quite difficult to isolate the violence that takes place online. And address it, because in Sri Lanka, in recent study had said that over 90% women who take public transport face sexual harassment, and there are so many other researchers show how men can justify violence and how women can also justify violence. I am just saying this to underline that we all work within the patriarchal institutions and patriarchal notions. So this is not only a cyber issue, this is not only a internet issue, this is a much larger sorry, I'll just this is much larger. If we take a look at the overall context, it's a much larger issue that we work within all these patriarchal notions and stereotypes. I would like to just go into the presentation and show you all the first slide just to show the impunity and also the sense of entitlement that men have online, especially given the special factors like being anonymous and also the okay. Is everything okay? Can I go on? Okay. So this, if you can read it, basically this is a picture that was taken at a sports meet recently in a girls' school, and I have blacked out the faces. I didn't want to show the faces, but it's just girls standing with a cricket bat. So taking a picture and putting it online has made someone to say this, make a edit karanawa, then I am going to edit this picture. If you don't send me your nudes. So regardless of girl agrees to send nudes or not, I am going to harass you anyway. This kind of sense of entitlement prevails online, and also it does in offline settings as well. On the road, in the bus, we face this every day, but especially since we are talking about cybersecurity and safer internet. So this goes on to hurry up and send, otherwise I am going to make this a nude and circulate among your friends. Basically, it's a threat and a blackmail. And the next slide is especially asking for Bridgertians and familians. This is like objectifying women. And this slide, I put it there to just to show the context. This is not something that happens in America, or this is not something that happens in the UK. This happens here, and all this happens here. And also this is This happens in Colombo, and also this happens in the rural areas. So for this guy to ask for Bridgertians and familians, the objectifying of women and also the impunity, and knowing that there won't be any legal repercussions given the uncertainty of the legal framework that we have regarding these online cyber crimes, it has given boys and men a sense of entitlement, and also this idea that they can do anything, they can say anything. So this is another instance where they used he for she campaign, which is a famous campaign where what they have basically done is used this, and it's a process of grooming. There are tasks that you can take. What happens here is someone gets into someone else's Facebook account, basically unauthorized entry, we call it. So there are steps being given to another person. So the other person at the other end thinks it's the friend who's on Facebook chatting with me and sending these tasks. So first one, it's a classic example of online grooming. So first, take a picture of your shirt, take a picture of your bra, take a picture of your underwear, and it goes. The task 12 is send me your picture of pic of your boobs, send a picture of your pussy, bend over and send a picture from the back, spread your pussy lips and send a pic. So this is the kind of sense of entitlement and also the guts to ask for these things with the knowledge that there won't be any legal repercussions, and also the understanding that we can do it, and also the objectifying of women. In general, we call a girl badu or khel. So this is a reflection of calling them a piece, and also how this affects the expression of sexuality of women. I personally believe that if a woman wants to send a nude picture to an intimate partner or whoever, that's an expression of sexuality, freedom of expression, and that person the right to privacy, so that needs to be protected. But in a society like this, we don't seem to think so. We think that if a woman sends a picture like this, or even if I take a picture and put it online, that's an opportunity for somebody else to morph it to a nude body and circulate around and shame me. So, and also the other factor I want to bring out here, since we're talking about internet, when we go to rural areas, internet is so much associated. This is something that really restricts access to the internet in rural areas. When we go to the rural areas, internet is so much connected to sex. That's why Sri Lanka became the first country to search for sex, because if you go and talk to parents, they would say noti asabya pintura, asabya chitrapati. That is not pornography. If I want to watch pornography, I know the address to go to. So if it doesn't mean that people in other countries don't watch pornography. It's just that we have lack of understanding about the internet and also the wrong perception about the internet. So whenever a girl or a boy gets a phone for 2 minutes or 20 minutes, what they look for is sex. That's why we became the first in the world for searching sex, the word. It doesn't mean that we watch porn a lot. It's just that everything that they know about the internet is sex. So that restricts access to the internet of women, because if you are the girl who's using the internet, you can be promiscuous, or you have a bad reputation, or you are asking for it. That's one way of looking at it. So I would like to leave the floor with 2 recommendations. One is to have a centralized mechanism, because at the beginning we were told the legal process is to go to CID cybercrimes. It's I think the 5th floor. So you have to pass the 4th floor and go to the 5th floor. And from the time you enter into the CID first gate, you are asked various number of questions, like, is it about a nude? Is it about Facebook? Is it about a picture? Did you send the picture? Did you come with a friend? All these questions. I went for another interview and these questions were asked from me. So then you are stigmatized and discriminated from the beginning of the justice system. So there's a lack of overall justice system needs work, but in terms of cybersecurity, also we need a centralized, non-judgmental reporting mechanism where victims can come forward and bring these perpetrators to justice, and also the strengthening of existing legal framework. The second one is to have a national level survey. So then national level survey on freedom of expression of women online, including violence and harassment that they grew through, also include sexually marginalized women, and also also multi-layered stigma across race, caste, age, all of that. So we can really see what is going on the ground. So those are the two recommendations I want to leave you all with. And I was told that there is a report here and the recommendations will go to the ministry, and they'll look into it, and hopefully it will meet the right people, and somehow we can see some kind of progress on this. Thank you.
It's all right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Deshapriya. So we are going to continue this session. So we are going to combine these two sessions now. Thank you, Professor Maheesha, for giving us the inspirational talks and giving us the opportunity to think more about the issue. Thank you for being here. I would like to invite Ms. Nayani Fernando to come over to the head table. Before that, so there were so many questions about the task of the ICT agency regarding women. So I would like to invite Mr. Sameera Jayawardana to talk more about their women initiatives, Suhuruliya project. So I guess many questions will be answered by that. Before that, give me 1 second, Sameera. So I would like to give a token of appreciation for Professor Maheesha. Thank you.
Can I have my slides loaded? It's here.
Just close this. This one.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, I won't take much time since I think we have behind the schedule. So this presentation won't answer all the questions what you all have asked, but so I'll explain about our approach on women empowerment, what have been doing so far, and the way forward. So you can raise any other questions. So during the presentation or after the presentation, so I'll try to answer those questions. So as I told you all earlier, now ICTA is working on multiple fronts. So from the infrastructure, the enabler projects like infrastructure, connectivity, and then on top of it, we are developing capacity building at all layers. We are touching the entire spectrum from age 5 to age 75, the old segments of the society we are touching with different capacity building initiatives. I'll explain what are those. Then we have specific segments we are touching like digital health, digital education, things like that, those verticals. And there are some of the enabling projects like policies, like e-government policy and digital education roadmap and master plans, things like that. So those things are being implemented. While we do this, we concentrate and we have identified women as a key segment we should empower and we should focus. So that's why we have come up with the initiative called Suhuruliya. In Sinhala, in English, you call smart women. So we are partnering with Women in ICT Frontier Initiative, which is being implemented by United Nations Asia Pacific Center for ICT. So that is the initiative I'm going to talk about. So this is, I'll skip these slides. I think you must be familiar with these facts and numbers. So it's you can see life expectancy and the female population about approximately 52%. So some further facts like now one interesting fact was we got this information from Madam Chandradi Senaratne from the Secretary Ministry of Women Affairs. So 25% households are being led by women in Sri Lanka. So that's a quite interesting fact. And you can see other things. I mean, it's quite obvious. So considering all these background information, now digital in Sri Lanka. So I'll take some of the statistics which has been published by Interactive Advertising Bureau, Singapore. Now we are working on our own survey at the moment. We'll get the latest statistics, 2017 statistics, very soon. Until then, this is about January 2016. So you can see the internet penetration is about 27% out of 20 million. Almost 5.7 million are accessing internet. And importantly, the social media users, that is, the penetration is 17%. So I'll stop it from here, but you can see the numbers. Now we are preaching, now we achieved at least up to say more than 40% computer literacy. But now we are focusing more on digital literacy. You know the difference between computer literacy and digital literacy. I mean, it's not just how to, using a particular application or switch on a computer. It's about how you're going to effectively use digital technologies for your day-to-day work. If you are a farmer, you should be able to use digital technologies for your work. So that's the digital literacy we are talking about. So with this context, we launched this initiative. I skipped some of the slides intentionally, called Suhuruliya. Actually, it was again blessed by from top level policymakers to bottom layer. So so you can see some of the statements made by our chief guest, Professor Maitri Vikramasinghe, and our honorable minister. So not about the politicians, but I just wanted to highlight the facts. So one thing is you can see the importance of empowering women, especially considering the 52% of the total population representing women, and they can make a significant contribution to the national economy. That has been identified through different surveys, which I'm not going to expose at this moment. I'm pretty sure you all must be familiar with all these things. But the latter part, the third quote from Kanti Ranjani, she's one of these women entrepreneurs. So she has been selling, if I can remember, some of these ornaments for last decade, but she has never used internet as a tool. Even she has a Facebook page, but it's inactive. She doesn't know how to sell it. Now, during this initiative, what we have done was we partnered with multiple agencies, mainly the Women and Child Care Ministry. So all the women development officers, there are 330. And initially we have identified a set of officials representing each district. So we got a training of trainer program, and we introduced 2 modules with the help of UNAPC ICT. One on SDGs. There's a SDG number 5 about women empowerment. So how women can be contributed to national development. So that is one of the components. The second one was how you can use digital technologies effectively to promote and improve your entrepreneurship and your businesses. So those 2 modules have been introduced, and we conduct a lot of training programs and a lot of community launches. Now this is one of the launches we had in Jaffna. There were 60 women entrepreneurs. I'll tell you one story because we don't have much time. This has been done in I think late 2016, October 2016. January 2017, 3 entrepreneurs came from Kites and some of the other places I can remember. So they were selling their the Palmyra products, that small small bags, say $250 in village fair. Now they found new markets through local platforms like Ikman and even Kapruka, and they have go beyond that. They are selling their products through eBay also. So they came with some of the presents. So those are some of the things we have seen as outcomes, but it's too early to predict, and we have been continuous, focusing on continuous support. Community projects cannot be implemented without continuous support and monitoring. Through the ministry and through our intervention, we have been continuously supporting them. So the way forward now, we are leveraging 330 women development officials, and we have a initiative called Smart Social Circles. I just touched that initiative because it will answer some of your questions you raised about citizen empowerment and how we're going to enable them. Then of course audiobooks and all these things we have published, and consultative committees and so on. So let me briefly tell you about Smart Social Circle initiatives. Now, one lady asked a question about nanosalas. So I'm not telling this is the predecessor, but now we are at a different stage now. Now the computer literacy, 2004 it was 4.7. Now at least we reached up to 50%. Now the requirements are changed, and the society has been evolved. So the intention of Smart Social Circle is to leverage the digital technologies and empower communities. Now I'll give an example. Say I'm from Kurunagal actually. So one of Mason Bus who has come to repair my bathroom, say about 1 year back now. He had a smartphone, Apple phone, Apple i5 or something, but he doesn't know how to use it. He's just getting calls and he's just publishing, photos in Facebook. That's it. So what else he can do? Even, at village level, grassroots level, there are a lot of youth. They just waste their time, hanging around here and there, but they are computer literate. They know how to use computers. They can easily do at least ad posting and things like that and earn something, Upwork or freelancer. And there are a lot of goods. The classic example is again Kurunagal, Galahitiava DS, one of the GN divisions. They sell products, say 500 rupees in their village fair. The same product you can purchase from Laksala for 1,500. So that's a classic case. So in this case, what we have done was we try to empower these communities with not theory. We introduced a module and a training program. So, and we have set up a community, like a society at GN division, Gramalidari division. We set up a society, ICT society in Gramalidari division. We identified 5 persons from government and 5 persons from community. So we call them knowledge agents. So you can see 5 from the government. So those are the people, those are dealing with grassroots, including the Gramanilidari. And the community, from the community, we identified 5 persons. Mandatory women representation. Most of the places we do have at least 3 women representation. Most of the government officials are women actually in most of the cases. So women KA, knowledge agents. So we get them trained on certain module. So that is module consists not theories. This practical application. Say how do you set up a say eBay account? How do you sell your product and market your product? So citizen journalism. How do you raise your voice? Saya's case. What has happened during last election. So how you can use this force more ethical way to uplift the society. So that is the other intention. I'll give another case in Polonnaruwa, Podgul Pedesa. I think that is the president's residence area, GN division. They have 2 burning issues they had, if I could remember. One was books for their library. The second one was, of course, monkeys. And monkeys, of course, we can't help, but we act as an intermediary bridge. The wildlife department, they are partnering with us. They address that requirement. Apparently, there's no solution, it seems. But for this library thing, it's very easy. I mean, these people are seeking for books. The other end, I mean, we are seeking for places to donate books, right? So we have a social media platform which facilitates and enable them to bridge. So each GN division we train knowledge agents and we ask them to go back to the respective GN division and spread the word. Then we have a social circle launch at each GN division with the participation of mostly 100 people, all members of the society. So then we are continuously supporting them through our mechanism. We do have staff get involved, and we have partners. 14 private sector partners involved at the moment, with 6 government public sector partners. ISOC is also partnering with us now as knowledge partner. Say for an example, now the next rollout, we have established 60 social circles at the moment. Now we are in the process of establishing 800 more in all districts in the nation. So we're going to complete it within next 3 months. So I'll give you another simple example, like partners. Say Mobitel is coming with us now. It's win-win for them and us. They are distributing free data SIMs with a data bundle to these communities. So it's win for them, win for us. I mean, ICT is facilitating. We are enabling for them to access digital technologies. Say, as education partners, Microsoft and some of the other organizations are coming with us, and they'll provide certain set of education. It's win for them and for us. So, and Women Affairs Ministry, Private Industries Ministry, Department of Agriculture is coming with us. They disseminate information for farmers, and they're helping them out. And the election commissioner recently, election commission joined with us. They are going to do voters awareness, and next voters registration also will be facilitated through social circle network. So there are all sorts of opportunities are available with this initiative. So there are a lot of things going on. So there are some of the success stories. Even they are selling bricks online at the moment. So we do very soon we're going to have a national launch, and we have a website. So I will share all this information with you all. We kindly request you to just seek for this information. If you have any partner agencies, any opportunities you see, any potential, I mean, we are very happy to join with you all, because it's end of the day, it will be win-win, and our ultimate objective is to ensure the adoption of digital technologies to improve their livelihood. So, there are a lot of challenges we face. Of course, regular participation, and the one lady has mentioned, that's very true. The priorities of women differs from different communities to communities. Even within the same community, we have seen there are different types of women, like war widows. Even some of the north and east, we have seen war widows. They have different perceptions, and you have to address their requirements. So change. These things are again self-explanatory. I'm not wasting your time. I know you all can skim through all these things. If you have any further questions or clarifications, you can talk to me. So again, thank you so much for listening me. So there are a lot of initiatives, and I mean, we are seeking for partnerships. And if you have any things to share or any thoughts, so you're most welcome to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sameera. Since we are running out of time, we have merged the last panel, 2 panels. So I would like to invite, so Ms. Paba Deshapriya is already talking about women's voice in the public sphere. And I would like to invite Ms. Nayani Fernando to talk about her experience being a pioneer of the IT industry. One of the most prominent women in the IT industry, former Director IT of the Central Bank, prominent government organization of Sri Lanka. So please over to the podium and share your experience, and hope you can have a good time.
Thank you, Sagarika, for the opportunity. Actually, I now a lot of things have been said about women's access to internet, the problems. Am I not tall enough? Okay. Okay. So today I thought my experience is more as one of the golden oldies of the computer age in this country, because I became a programmer in 1971. Okay, so Sameera was talking about his mother not using something. I'm just a little bit younger, you know. So what I noticed, so a few things I just want to point out is, one is when we look at the gender issue, even when I entered the university in 1965, okay, there were only 15 females in our batch and 75 boys. That is the physical science batch. And with that, we had the engineering batch, a similar ratio of just 4 or 5 girls, Colombo. Okay, so, but even at that time, the bio batch had about an equal number of females and males, right? And the strange thing is that even today it is similar. Now Sagarika was telling us that she is only a network engineer, you know. So this is a reality. One thing is that we are losing the capabilities of women in those spheres. Lot of people, for some reason, don't take to mathematics and engineering. While doctors, I think we have more female doctors than men. So it's an imbalance in that sense, not in the education per se. Of course, there are so many imbalances in education access, but I'm just talking about a different thing. So that is one thing. Then when we go on to the field of computers, right, what I have noticed is there are many females who become programmers, but very few reach the top. Long years ago, this Pariganaka magazine interviewed me, and they wanted to know whether there are barriers for women to reach the top. And I told them yes, because there are, I mean, the prototype is for a male. When I make a good decision, my colleague will tell me, Nayani, you are making decisions like a man. And I would say, no, I'm making a decision like a woman. You know, they just cannot get over this prototype, right? So these are barriers that we have faced. And I can tell you, I picked up a little quotation which I hung in my room, which said, women have to do twice as much as a man. Fortunately, that's not difficult. Okay, so that's the type of reality that exists in our society. You cannot change these things in a hurry. You know, we can promote certain things, access to cyberspace, access to, they are all necessary. What we were talking about today is absolutely essential. But there are other fundamental things that are sort of keeping the women down. One thing is the women themselves don't realize that they have the ability to reach the top and they can get there, you know. And the other thing is, in our society, so much of pressure, the family responsibility comes on the woman. So after work, nobody wants to hang around for anything. They want to get back home, look after the kids homework, the tuition class, everything. Today, you know, I live near the this Lumbini primary school, and you won't believe it. Every evening, these little boys come to play cricket, and the mothers are standing there to take them home. You know, so many mothers. Nowadays, you can't allow even a 10-year-old child to go alone on the road. Even a little boy, they don't allow. I know when I was a kid at 7 years, I was in Gaul. I would go from my school to a relation's place for lunch and walk back. At 7 years, at 8 years, it was no issue. But today is not the case. And so the reality is the mothers have to do a lot. And they forego the extra bit to devote time to the family. So that's why some of these things that were being said about access from home to work, because if we lose the contribution that women can make, our country is never going to go there. We need the women. And we boast of a literate population. The family planning project in the 1970s, they always say, was a success in Sri Lanka because of literate women. The literacy they are talking about may be just very, very limited, but the women were literate, educated to a certain extent. That was good enough to make that project a success. So you have to understand the power, the need of this country to get the women force there. So as we have been discussing today, the internet is a powerful tool. And all these initiatives, Sameera, I don't know, some of the things you said, I never knew. Why aren't we being told that, when the nanosalars came, of course, I was involved in the Syntech and ICTA and all then, you need to tell us. You need to get the people with you. This country needs it. So because we have lost faith in a lot of the government institutions, you can't get anything done. I know, I have been personally involved in trying to, I don't know, I never planned to say this in public, but there is a lady who cleans my former office. And she's a landslide victim. Her house is damaged. That with the help of a senior officer in a certain ministry, I was trying to get her some aid. She has been given letters in 2009 saying that she's eligible for, aid. She has not got anything up to now. And personally, I tried all the best that I could, using my connections and my husband's connections as well, friends. But there are people down there who don't let it go. So we are very frustrated. It came to a point when I said I will appeal to my friends and collect the money for her. Because so this is just one story. It may not be the real situation, but we know so many stories like that. But of course, I know Wasantha for a long time, and I know the contribution he has made and he's capable of making. I've known him for a long time. So similarly, there are people like that, but then they are now on the way out. What about the people who are coming in? Sameera, do we have people like that caliber in the ministries now? So I don't know. So this is the reality. And that's what I want to say. So I think a lot rests on the civil society, women's organization, and even now places like CSSL. I was heavily involved in the computer society, but I was alone. There were no women in the council, and unfortunately, I'm the only woman who has got a fellowship from the Professional Association. It's sad. It's sad. Does it mean that there are no other capable women? No, there are, but they just don't have the time. And the other thing is, even the women give more preference to the boy child's education than to the girl child's education. So this is a social thing that we have to deal with. So now we are old. Let's hope that the younger people will take this up and run and change these things so that our country will benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fernando, for your inspirational speech. We learn a lot, and we are looking way forward with our female friends. So how we overcome those challenges, and I hope you all will be there to guide us how to break those barriers, the invisible glass ceiling effect, actually. And I would like to ask from the panelists, is there anything more to add what Mrs. Fernando said? Like, so what are the areas to be highlighted in women's voice in the public sphere?
Sorry. I think this has been, as Ms. Nayani Fernando mentioned this has been a long-lasting issue. Basically, as Professor Maheesha also mentioned, that we are missing out a huge, amount of human female, worker hours in IT sector, simply because we are intentionally or unintentionally closing doors for the women to come to the ICT world. Especially what I have seen is that, yes, true that there are people there are girls in the IT batches and so on. And even at the entry level, there are considerable number of girls. But if you look at the leadership level, senior leadership, senior level, even at ICTA, I don't see a single lady in the senior management, other than the chairperson, who is not technically they are not for the ICT matters, technical aspects, but all others are men. So the problem is basically, especially as we discuss. No, I have discussed this matter with some leaders in the ICT sector, especially with women CEOs, CTOs, and so on. And whether we could improve the situation, as Mao Zedong said once, when they wanted women to join the People's Army and so on. Mao Zedong in early 1950s said, half of the world is women, right? So that is, half of the world is women. And if we don't open the door to women to join the army, then we are going to lose. So likewise, if you look at Sri Lankan situation, is more than half of the world is women, right? So we have about almost 52% ladies in the out of the population. So even if you look at the university entrance, more women are higher in numbers. However, if you look at the sector, only less than 25% are in the ICT sector in professional capacity. So what is being done, is in total. And even this 25 becomes, less than 1% when it goes to the higher level. So what is preventing them to go forward, move out? No, as long as we don't have people, ladies who can speak out, who would come forward and speak out about the problems and what prevents the other females coming forward and joining them, we are not going to break this situation. So the one example that I have and is basically one of my ex-CT of ICT, Dr. Nayani Fernando. Actually, I wanted her to be here, and she told me that 45% of entire IT staff in her company are ladies. That's the highest number in Sri Lanka. 45%, and they started around 20%. Now they have gone. They simply making the working environment women friendly. They said that we don't mark time, we don't measure time, we don't measure only the work, no amount of work that you complete, and what is your contribution to the organization. And they never ask special ladies to come over the 5 days, or at least one day they can complete the work on. So she said that they are encouraging especially the men to change their mindset. When they are interviewing at the interview panel, men are generally saying, "Ayyo, girls are that." That is basically, if you are hiring somebody for the second, third, fourth, higher top tier senior positions, that is the attitude. You can't worry. So this is basically, we have this perceived idea in that we can't work with women, especially gents have this attitude in IT, even IT industry. So that whatever she has done is basically, okay, if you can't work, I will make the change, give me 6 months. Get only, make it mandatory at each level that there are a certain number of women in there. And we need to apply this to, from even when we are encouraging startups to have at least minimum now. There are so many, ICT has spiration program, everywhere, this is one of the biggest thing, innovations, incubation and all that coming out startup companies. But if you go out and check any of the startup companies, girls are very rare to see that. We need to make it a policy. We need to make it a criteria that we need to have girls in those companies. And they completely shutting doors for in startup companies. I rarely see none has been in ICT startup companies. So it is all male affair. So this is something that we need to think out and create work around at various levels. And we can't force the private sector to change their recruitment policies and so on. But still, there should be at least, we are failing to get 25% ladies to the parliament and Badi Sabha, right? So we are less than 10%, right, still. And so this is basically national level issue. Ladies are not represented in decision making, policy making, legislature, or anywhere. So it is basically, I think, it has to be done in if you are going to do something in ICT for women in ICT, gender balance ICT industry, and so on, and more access to women. I think we need to, create programs with that particular intention. Now, without that, we can have workshops, we can recommendations, and I think that in Nayani's story is basically for how many years, but 71 to, it is 50 years, right? Almost 50 years now. 50 years, it has not changed. In IT industry, basically, we need to proactively do something. And as a start, we are trying to, for our incubation program, we need to see at least there has to be 25% women in the company. It is a criteria. And secondly, what we are trying to do is basically provide more women, girls-oriented ICT programs, career development, career counseling, as well as even ICT. We have a program. It is ICT literacy for housewives. We want to do something, there are so many areas that we need to work out. And again, it is a very huge problem. Government cannot tackle it alone. And also, basically, if we don't do that, I think, as Maheesha said, we will be chatting also more than 51% of the country.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And let me add something. So as you said, in the cultural perspective, so I'm one of the female systems engineers in the education ministry for 3 years. So by that time, there was breakdowns at night. So I'm supposed to go. But when I'm going there, my father used to come with me. He never let me go alone there. And he was sitting there and looking at what I'm doing. Sometimes even till the dawn, he was with me. But what I feel was he was not preventing me to go there and do the work. He was supporting me. So we have to educate our parents with all these cultural barriers to support their, especially daughters, to be in that field. That's why I'm here today. Otherwise, if he stops me doing that, or if he force me to stop this career and change my career, I will be no more there. So my father supports me with so many restrictions. Even my father supports me. So that attitude should be given to the parents, especially the school children. So we have to educate the parents. Otherwise, we will not be break that barrier. So we can't blame other people. If we get those barriers from our home, we cannot do anything. So over to the audience. Is there any questions?
Thank you to the panel for a set of very interesting presentations. I just wanted to flag a couple of things, just some thoughts that I had also while listening to the presentation. One is that, you know, when we go to these forums that talk about women's participation in any area, we always are like, you know, where are the women? Where are the women? Like we don't know where they are. I mean, we know where they are, right? They're at home because they have multiple things that the social norms dictate that they do, right? So even if we're talking, where are the women in the workforce, where are the women in politics, where are the women in the top sectors of private sector, we don't ask the question about, you know, what are we as a society, as the government doing to challenge the fact that women have multiple roles that they are required to play, that they are asked to play, and that they are forced to play. So nobody ever says, you know, why aren't the men looking after children? Where are the creches so that men can bring their children to work? Nobody's asking about that. But they are talking about, let's make workplaces friendly for women so that they can bring their children there. Or let's, you know, we're like, you know, let's try to minimize workplace harassment by putting CCTV cameras in buildings. But nobody's asking, why are men harassing women? Why are men making this workplace unsafe? And then why aren't we just firing those men? You know, why do we, I mean, Paba talked about entitlement of men, right? We see it online, we see it offline, we see it in the streets. There is no repercussions, there's no kind of accountability for men when they make spaces unsafe for women. So how are we tackling that, first of all? Secondly, I mean, it was really interesting to see the number of initiatives that ICTA is doing. My only concern or question around that is, we know that all of these initiatives are taking place in communities and where the social norms are very strictly regulated, right? So it's very strictly regulated where women can participate, where girls can go. So even if you, I mean, I think Sanchia talked about the nano sellers, right? Just the simple fact that you have a nano seller is not enough, because parents don't want to send their children there, because what if the girls are harassed there? So how are we also taking into consideration the social restrictions on women and girls' access to these spaces? So it's not enough to just have the spaces, but how are we facilitating the usage of those spaces? And there is a lot of research, and women's groups are doing a lot of work on this. But I find that a lot of these interventions are taking, like you were talking about, a very gender neutral approach to it. So we don't want to say we support women, because then that would create a gender bias, which I have no idea what that means, but this is the word that we hear in a lot of these forums where we're talking about the need for special attention or special requirements for women. A lot of the men are like, oh, we shouldn't have any gender bias. You know, everything should be neutral, everything should be accessible for all. But we've been talking this whole morning about how the fact that women do require special, it's not special needs, but there are special set of circumstances that women experience in the world that we live in. And how are we trying to mitigate that? The third thing is, I'm glad that almost everyone talked about affirmative action and quotas, because a lot of people also, I mean, a lot of these forums I go to, people are like, you know, women are so educated, but they're just not here. Nobody is willing to put, you know, their money where their mouth is and put in place criteria and quotas and saying, actually, in our organization, it's unacceptable that women are not at the top rank. So we are going to get them in. And we are going, you know, even in the government, even in parliament, people are, there's such a huge backlash to putting in place a quota. So everybody's like, there are no women, there are no women, but nobody wants to proactively work on it. So, I mean, these are just a couple of thoughts that I had. And the other, so just to end on this, I'm interested to know, you know, what is the, what ICTA is doing to bring in women's organizations. I mean, you have an initiative on women. Are you also working with national and local level women's organizations, particularly organizations that work with a feminist rights-based perspective? So not so much in, initiatives that are looking at women as contributors to the economy only, or as entrepreneurs only. What about what about my need or women's need to have access to the internet because it is her right to have access to the internet, not because then she can work and put money into the economy. Also, don't forget that when we encourage women to be entrepreneurs, we are not backstopping the work that she has to do at home. So we are automatically creating a double burden for her. So how are we trying to mitigate that as well? So I do encourage ICTA to involve, there are lots of women's organizations here, to involve us in your plans when you're working, because I think that can be an interesting partnership. I mean, it's win-win in a social sense, maybe not in a monetary sense, but it's win-win in that way. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you so much. In fact, as I told earlier, we are very happy to be partner with everybody, those who are willing to contribute. At the moment, also we are partnering with national organizations like Women Affairs Ministry, Focus, and some of the ground level organizations working with women development and rural women empowerment. So you all most welcome. So you can contact Aminda. He's there. So before you leave, so he's the focal point for us to discuss with. So he's handling the private sector partnership and all these corporations. So you're most welcome. So thank you so much for your interest. So I think we can do a lot more things together during upcoming years. Thank you.
Yeah, before we wind up, are there any questions?
Not a question, but first to Mr. Wasantha Deshapriya.
WDOs in 5 districts. But in the morning also, I have collected some information for a report on the Surulia program. But I was wondering the monitoring part of it, what action that they have been taken to monitor. I mean, we are having all these training programs, but the impact, we'll have to see the impact of it, right? And on the other hand, now we are talking about women at highest decision making. We have been talking about this fact for a long period of time in parliament representation and women at the top level. But I think that it's been increasing, but it's been increasing when you compare the situation in 1980s, etc. But I still feel that the decision makers are males, right? Even in the parliament, it's all males except for a few women, right? It's all and on the other hand, their attitude, we need to change their attitudes. Although I think the secretary is very positive towards women's appointments to higher decision-making echelons. But the thing is, it's not so in every case. And the sensitivity, gender sensitivity is still lacking in our country. It's cultural context, stereotyping, all these things are there. So unless we break all these things, we can't see women, not only in the IT field, but in other areas, more women at top decision-making levels.
Thank you. The first one, the Surulia, very true. So we do have a post implementation and continuous monitoring and evaluation mechanism. With the ministry, actually, we had a discussion for planning for this year. So the national rollout with the social circles, we're gonna deploy the whole thing in all 25 districts. So with that, the TOTs again will be conducted. There's a program actually which is being developed in consultation with the ministry, and there's a small committee appointed with participation of some of the other representatives. We can even have offline discussion if you are representing the ministry. So the secretary is very keen on moving forward this initiative, and COICA is also partnering with us during the rolling out the Suruli initiative. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah. I'd like to ask a question from Mr. Deshapriya on the high cost of access to internet with that access, which we talked about earlier. Can you come up with some special digital packages for women? Or easier access, free access, cheaper access, whatever. Because without that, we cannot do any of the other things that we talk about.
I heard that Sri Lanka is the country where broadband is the lowest, rates are lowest. Basically, comparatively international levels, basically the per MB rate has been considered as one of the lowest. However, the recent taxation process has made it a little bit, out of reach from some people. But still, what we are trying to do is, basically, ICTA has one program which is called Free Wi-Fi. And currently, you can see it. What is the URL? Public Wi-Fi.lk or something, which is basically, you can see the current statistics also. And under that program, making most of the government organizations also Wi-Fi hotspots. That is one thing that we are, and popularize more free Wi-Fi hotspots. And making, currently it is 100 MB is the download that you can have maximum. But in addition to that, it is a matter of TRC, which is, I am afraid, basically it is not under our ministry. Though the subject of telecommunication has been given, TRC is under the Presidential Secretariat. So whatever the tax and tariff formulation is being done by them, what we are trying to do is make it more accessible, freely accessible for people. Increasing, it is called freewifi.lk is the website, and yeah, there are a number of people are using it. Already there are concurrent users. So that is what we are planning to do. And Anka Government Network is one of the major projects that we are planning to spread with. Basically ICTA is implementing it. Ministry is assisting in. Ministry is the policy body which is directing it. That is the only thing that we could do under the circumstances.
Can't you increase the off-peak covers?
That has been suggested, basically, especially even when I attended last internet forum for the differently able person, and this was, basically, can we, reduce the off-peak hours to, I have submitted that to TRC. I haven't received, but what I am suggesting is basically for Internet Society and IGF Sri Lanka to submit us the recommendations at the end of the forum, as this is again one of the recurrent requests to reduce the off-peak hours, and increase the, other way around, and make it more available for the users. So that is all this, whatever she had two recommendations and all that, we would like to have it so we can take it as a public policy recommendation.
Public policy. Okay, thank you. Thank you for our distinguished panelists and the audience. It's time to wind up. The vote of thanks will be done by Ms. Sachini Sakila, our Treasurer, Internet Society, Sri Lanka.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So now we are going to wind up the first ever Internet Governance Forum, Women Internet Governance Forum. So I would like to thank all the panelists, like our around 10 panelists here. Mrs. Chitrangani Mubarak, Mrs. Thelma Pereira, Ms. Dilukshi Gamage, Dr. Himali Tenakon, Professor Maheesha Kapurubandara, Ms. Mani Gunaratna, Ms. Paba Deshapriya, Ms. Chuli De Silva, and Ms. Nayani Fernando, and Mrs. Waruna Sri Danapala, and also Mr. Wasantha Deshapriya. And I would like to thank my special thanks to Mr. Sameera Jayawardana. He was here from the beginning to the end for whole session, and Ms. Sagarika, the President in its Society Sri Lanka chapter, who led this concept success from the beginning, from the concept to this end of this session. She was there like the pillar behind all this. And I would like to thank all the sponsors of this event, Ministry of Telecommunication and Digital Infrastructure, SLT Telecom, and Learn, LK Domain Registry, and ICTA, and ISOC LK, and ISOC org, and all the Internet Society members who are behind this, who are working in this. And thank you very much. We are going to wind up this. Thank you. And we have a special token of appreciation for our last panel. I would like to invite first Ms. Nayani Fernando to accept our small present, and Ms. Paba Deshapriya. And Mr. Wasantha Deshapriya. And Mr. Sameera Jayawardana. Thank you very much. Good night.